Greetings. My name is Mike Choi from my own company, MKCCustomsBrokers International Inc. I'm the founder of MKCCustomsBrokers. And today I wanted to cover the current Trump tariffs, which is pretty busy and complex somewhat. I wanted to explain my own way as simple as I can. I won't cover everything, but some key points. And today, my key point would be that we are being charged, or import community is being charged, reciprocal tariffs, and then other tariffs such as Section 232, steel, auto parts, aluminum, copper tariffs, and it's somewhat confusing, but I'm trying to explain at the end that if you do pay Section 232 auto parts, steel, and aluminum and copper tariff, then you don't have to pay the reciprocal duty, so reciprocal tariff. So just keep that in mind. Let me begin with second page of the slide to explain the key difference between duty and tariff. Duties are taxes imposed on the imported commodities. These are based on merchandise, the product, the commodities, whether it's a shirt, toy, machinery, etc. Now, the tariffs are direct taxes imposed against another country. So tariffs are specifically against China, against Vietnam, against Japan or Korea or EU. So tariffs are usually based upon against the country. Next page to page 3, Trump tariffs. There are many Trump tariffs and somewhat confusing, but let me organize it for you here. Basically, the President of the United States does not have the power to levy tariffs without Congress's approval. However, Trump administration bypassing that law by declaring emergency, and in the emergency scenario, the president's office can impose tariffs. So what are they that he's using right now? Section 301 tariff, which was implemented during his first term of Trump, which is about 6 years ago. By the way, today is October 7th, 2025, just to clarify. So Section 301, under the premise of unfair trade practice, mainly against China, that it was declared as emergency, and therefore Trump administration has the power to implement such tariff. Second tariff, which started beginning of this year on Trump's second term, is called IEEPA Tariff. IEEPA is an acronym for International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and I will explain more details on next slides. Third is Section 232 tariff, and Section 232 is imposed on importation of auto parts, steel, aluminum, copper, under the premise of national security emergency. Going to the next page, page 4. Then what are the Section 301 tariff? Now, these tariffs that Trump's charging, not something Trump administration invented, but these were already in place many, many years ago. Section 301 tariffs enacted 1974. Meaning of Section 301 tariff is for the purpose of international trade. Section 301 tariffs refer to any additional duty being applied to imports coming from nations, in this particular case against China, that the U.S. feels unfair trade practice. So this was the emergency declared on the basis of unfair trade practices. Going to the next page, page 5. What are the IEEPA tariffs? This was enacted in 1977. IEEPA spells out the International Emergency Economic Powers Act allows the U.S. government to impose tariffs and other economic sanctions during national emergencies. Again, this is another emergency tariff. These tariffs are typically applied to imports from countries deemed to pose a threat to national security or economic stability. IEEPA tariffs are divided into two sections, two parts. Part 1 is fentanyl, 20% against China, Mexico, and Canada. And Part 2 is reciprocal tariff, which started as a 10% throughout all the countries in the world. And as of now and as of August 7th of 2025, various reciprocal tariff rates applied depending on each country. So each country received its own reciprocal tariff rates. That was since August 7th of 2025. Going to the next page, page 6, Section 232 tariffs. This was enacted 1962. That's when I was 10 years old. Trade restrictions imposed by the U.S. government on certain imports for the reason of national security emergency. This is against primarily products including steel, aluminum, copper, and some other that I don't want to go into too much detail. I just want to stay focused on main subject matter. This is to protect national security interest. Next page, page 7. Page 7 is a very nice, colorful chart. This was designed by U.S. Customs. I am going to explain chronological order of each tariff that was implemented because this particular slide is too big and the letters are too small and it's hard to read. So let's go to the next page. We'll cover each tariff one individually. Page 8, this was implemented March 4th, 20% IEEPA tariff against China and Hong Kong, in addition to 20%, which is for the reason of fentanyl, illegal drugs coming in from China. Another 10% of reciprocal rate was applied. So from China, as of March 4th, in addition to whatever the previous duties and tariffs, Section 301 tariffs, China was already being levied. They were paying this additional 20% fentanyl tariff and then 10% reciprocal tariff. So as of March 4th, China and Hong Kong products were levied additional 30% of what was being charged previous to March 4th. Going to the next page, page 9, to explain the Section 232 tariffs that was implemented as of May 3rd of 2025. It's a 25% against autos and auto parts. This Section 232, 25% on passenger vehicles and light trucks and auto parts of all countries, except UK, United Kingdom, England, and USMCA, which means Mexico and Canada, the products that's made in North American continent. Going to the next page, page number 10. This was implemented June 4th, 50% against steel. This is Section 232, 50% on imports of steel, including derivatives, meaning any products that includes steel, such as any product, either it's a raw steel or roll of steel or coil of steel, plus, let's say, refrigerators or machinery that's made from steel will be charged additional 50% of Section 232 tariff on the content of the steel. So the percentage of the steel that's in the product will be charged additional 50% steel tariff. Going to the next page, 11, same concept applied here against aluminum. Section 232, this is starting June 4th, 50%. Section 232, 50% on imports of aluminum, including aluminum derivatives of all countries except Russia, except Russia because Russia, with the Ukraine war, being punished with a 200% against Russian aluminum products. UK, England, aluminum products is charged only 25%. So that's the aluminum tariff. Going to the next page, page 12, copper. Copper tariff implemented August 1st, another 50%. Section 232, 50% on imports of semi-finished copper or copper products and intensive copper derivative. Maybe it means inclusive copper derivative, maybe misprint, products from all countries. So that's page 12 regarding the copper tariff. Page 13, next page was 13, reciprocal tariff. As of August 7th, before August 7th, all nations were charged 10% equal across the board, 10% reciprocal tariffs until August 7th. But as of August 7th, White House announced reciprocal tariff against all countries, individual countries. The rates vary, depends upon their assistance to United States economy. This is another part of IEEPA. IEEPA 10% minimum to all countries. Specific rates for all non-exempt goods, meaning generally most imported goods. Reciprocal tariff duty rate ranges from 10% to 41% to covering 95 countries. Next page, the 95 countries, I'll show you the list of 95 countries a couple of slides later. Next slide is page number 14, Russian oil. For the reason of Russian oil, India is being charged as of August 27th, additional 25% reciprocal tariff. So as of August 7th, India was already being charged 25% reciprocal tariff, and then 20 days later, on August 27th, the White House announced that India will be charged additional 25%, meaning total of 50% against India. A high tariff because India is buying Russian oil, and that is supporting Ukraine war to fund for Russian military. Next page, page 15, the Minimis tariff. Until August 29th, all packages you buy from internet, e-commerce, what's called e-commerce, internet sales, came from, let's say, China factory directly to your home. If a package is worth, value is less than $800, you were able to receive your packages from overseas for free of duty as long as the value of the package was less than $800. And this was called the Minimis entries, and this was terminated or canceled as of August 29th, mainly because in America we were receiving more than 1.5 million packages a day. Government was missing out on all these revenues they could have collected on the duty and tariffs. Also, it was circumventing many U.S. laws, such as FDA laws and DOT laws and FCC and etc. So going to the next page, page 16. Page 16 is a chart or table that shows all the reciprocal tariff rates as of August 7th against all nations. I think about 95 countries should be listed here. Letters are too small to see, but just to cover quickly a few countries. EU is being charged 15%. India was charged 25% as of August 7th, but as of August 27th, 20 days later, India is being charged 50%. Japan is being charged 15%. Philippines, 19%. South Korea, 15%. Taiwan, 20%. Turkey, 15%. Now, England, UK is 10%. Remember, England is not an EU. They opted themselves out of EU, so they get a break there. Vietnam is 20%. Okay, so that's page 16. So let's go to next page, page 17. This is a chart. So vertically, you could see on top, you have China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and other countries as a comparison. And then, well, I should have said horizontally, you have China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and other countries. And then vertically, you have Section 301, which only applies to China, and then IEEPA tariff, and then IEEPA tariff is divided to two: fentanyl tariff and then IEEPA reciprocal tariff, Section 232 tariff at the bottom. If we look at it vertical column, the first one is China is being charged Section 301 tariff, which is implemented during the first term of Trump administration. And then now at the second term, China is being charged fentanyl, which is 20%, and then reciprocal IEEPA, which is another 10%, China is being charged. However, this is to be reviewed or renewed as of November 10th of this year, 2025, and we don't know whether it's going to go down or go up. At this point, we don't know. Depends how White House will negotiate with Chinese government. Continuing on China, Section 232, they are being charged steel 50%, aluminum 50%, copper 50%, and auto parts 25%. Japan, next column, Japan. Now, Section 301 is obviously it's only against China, so Japan does not have Section 301 charged against them. However, they do have not the first part of fentanyl IEEPA. First part of IEEPA is only against China. However, the second part of IEEPA, which is reciprocal, that's a 15%. 15% reciprocal is charged if the commodity duty rate is less than 15%. But if the commodity duty rate is, in case of polyester sweater, regular commodity duty rate is 32%. So if the commodity duty rate is higher than 15% reciprocal tariff, then whichever higher is charged at 32%. Japan also being charged with steel, aluminum, copper, and then they are being charged auto and auto parts 15%, which is reduced in favor of Japan compared to other countries. Taiwan obviously don't have Section 301 since Section 301 applies to China only. They are not charged for fentanyl 20% because they are not China, and they are being charged reciprocal 20%. IEEPA. Of course, they are being charged all the Section 232 tariffs like any other country, 50, 50, 50, and 25%. Korea also, Section 301 is not being charged because they are not China. Fentanyl is not being charged because they are not China. Reciprocal, Korea is charged 15%. And then they are charged equally the Section 232, 50%, steel, aluminum 50%, copper 50%, and auto parts 25%. And other countries, Section 301 does not apply since Section 301 is only for China, against China. And then fentanyl does not apply because it applies to China. Reciprocal, as of August 7th, as you can see the previous table, that various countries receive various different rates depending on what country it's from, and it varies from 10% to 49% for the worldwide reciprocal rates. Section 232 is applied the same, steel, aluminum, copper, 50% each, and then auto and auto parts, 25%. If it's from other countries, then let's say China, Japan, Taiwan, and Korea, as I mentioned earlier. Going to the next page, page 18, organize another table for clarification. Auto and auto parts tariff of 25%, and then we have Section 232, 50%, and then we have reciprocal tariff against various countries. If you are the importer importing, let's say, any one of auto products or steel products or metal products or other than metal products, let's say, if your product qualifies for auto, then you obviously pay 25% auto tariff, but you don't have to pay Section 232 steel, aluminum, copper tariff, which is 50%. So you make a savings there, even though, let's say, you're importing, let's say, carburetor made of steel, but you only pay 25% auto tariff, but you do not pay 50% steel tariff, which the, let's say, carburetor is made from. Could be steel, could be a mix of aluminum. And also the good news is you don't pay reciprocal tariff, as you can see at the right-hand side of the column. Second scenario, if your product is not an auto or auto parts, but applies to Section 232 entry, then you don't pay auto parts 25%, obviously, but you do pay 50% on either steel, aluminum, or copper, depending upon the content of your product. You pay 50% against the value, the content value of the steel or aluminum or copper. And the good news is when you do pay Section 232 tariff, then on those contents or percentages, the value, you do not pay reciprocal. Third scenario is if you have your product is not an auto parts and your product is not a steel, aluminum, I should say, or copper product, then if you are other than auto entry and other than Section 232 entry, obviously you don't pay auto parts tariff and you don't pay Section 232, but you do pay reciprocal, which is 10% or higher, depending on what country you are importing from. That was page 18. So let's go to the next page, page 19. Obviously, many importers are looking into proper way of reducing their duty or tariff burdens nowadays. And one of the methods could be what's known as a first sale rule. I want to advise you as a customs broker, if you do use first sale rule, then you have to be very careful that everything has to be in written procedure, documented, and you do have to seek custom broker and trade lawyers, their advices and instructions. Because you have to provide all kinds of records, purchase orders, sales contract, and proof of payments, and to show customs when audited if all these sales were proper bona fide sales. So explain the chart. So let's say you are importing wearing apparel from factory in China, in rural areas, in a small village. They make let's say, sweaters. So they make the sweaters, a small factory, mom and pop shop, let's say, and then they sell it to trading company, middleman in Shanghai. And then the trading company in Shanghai turns around and sell it to, let's say, U.S. importer record, could be department store or major importers. So that will be considered a second sale. So the first sale is from the small factory selling to middleman in Shanghai trading company, and then second sale will be trading company, exporting company in China to U.S. importing companies such as big retailers, let's say Walmart or Macy's or other retail chains, let's say. So that was page 19. Let's go to page 20. The first sale rule, when you apply this, the definition of this first sale rule is dutiable value of a qualifying transaction may be based on the purchase price between the manufacturer factory and middleman trading company. So you will use the lower value price of the first sale instead of the second sale. However, various criteria must be met to use this method, including ensuring that the first sale price reflects the definitions I'm going to list now, at least three. First is a sale has to be clearly destined to U.S. The product was made for U.S. sales or export to U.S. And then must be a bona fide sale. And then third, conducted at arm's length sales price, meaning fair market value sale where all the net profits and overheads were all included. It's not a friend-to-friend or relative sale, cousin and uncle selling to nephew in America type of thing. So you must have sales contracts, purchase orders, and paid and payable records, how you paid each transaction. So as a broker, customs broker, I advise you very strongly to have all this record in place, because whenever we apply first sale rule calculation, duty calculation into your entry, in the computer system, we input a letter F for first sale on the computer screen. So customs sees it that clearly that this is a first sale transaction value. This is going to trigger customs to audit 6 months or 1 year after the import, and you must have a proof to show to customs that your prices reflect bona fide sales. Going to the next page, page 21, going back to Section 232, Trump administration has expanded Section 232, a tariff against product that's not as known as steel, aluminum, copper, but it could be shampoo, it could be paint, it could be soap or makeup. White House is going after is the packagings. Your product could be made of a tube of aluminum or in the steel can. They want to collect 50% on those steel, aluminum, and copper packagings. So this is a quick internet published Section 232. That was page 21. And this started on August 18th of 2025. So next page, page 22. Many of you may be curious about how to get refunds if government allowed refunds on these tariffs in case. So let me cover this quickly. The method of refunds, there are two methods. One is to file post-summary correction, PSC, post-summary correction. You will see it at the bottom of the slide. A second method is the right-hand side. It explains request protest eligible after liquidation. So let me explain that the dates, it's important that everything has to fall within the windows of these dates. Import date. The import date, day one. Day one is when you receive customs clearance of your container in LA or Long Beach port, let's say, or at the airport. And day one is the entry customs clearance date. And then within 10 days after the date one or entry import customs clearance date, within 10 days afterwards, you have to pay the duty. And that's the entry summary date. And then after then, another key date to notate is called liquidation date. Liquidation means finalization of your customs duty calculation is finalized. That happens 314 days after the import entry date. And this is a key date and key event of your entry that most importers are not that well aware of, but this is a key date to remember. It's a liquidation date. If you pay the 30% plus, most Chinese product nowadays, you might be paying like as little as 55% duty or tariffs, which is a big amount. So if government ever decided to refund you some of the tariffs, then your window opportunity is from the date of entry summary, which is 10th day after import, and then before the liquidation, 314 days. 314 days is about 10 months or a little bit less than 1 year. If you are in that window between the import date and the liquidation date, you have the opportunity to file PSC, refund request, which is post-summary correction. Custom broker could help you. Or give me an email and I could explain further. The second option is after entry is liquidated, which is 314 days after the import date, then you have opportunity to file request refund through what's called protest, and this is only eligible after the liquidation. However, protest must be filed within 180 days from the liquidation date. So you have window opportunity of about 6 months after the liquidation, and within that 6 months, you must file protest to obtain a refund opportunity. And after 180 days is over, you do not have any more options of request for refund. It's very important that protest, there are two conditions you have to apply for refunds. There are two conditions, either PSC before the liquidation or protest after the liquidation, but it must be before 180 days after liquidation. And with that, I close my webinar here, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at my email address mikec@mkcchb.com. Thank you for listening.